Hello, salutations, and greetings. If you're here, you've successfully made it to episode 2. And before we begin, I think it's really important I tell you what tea I'm drinking today. So, today I am drinking green tea with lemon, a natural relaxant after a very, very long day, and some beautiful lemongrass incense essential to create this mood and peace. Um, I want you to know that you can listen and read my work on either Substack, Tumblr, or YouTube. I grew up in the era of Tumblr, so I think it's really important that I stay true to my OG community that supported me during my smut phase, thou shall not be named, and my obsession with fairy tale ships. If you know, you know. I don't have to explain it any other way. um Last week I said I love to hold the mic when I'm speaking, but I found all the pieces for my mic stand and I realized having the freedom to talk with my hands is a very essential part of this creative process. So I'm really excited to have a proper working mic. I think I'm very blessed, and I actually bought this equipment um 4 or 5 years ago, and I haven't used it in a very, very long time. So I think it just goes to show that nothing ever happens all at once, and you never know when you're going to come back to something. So don't sell yourself short. Um, I never thought that I would have the courage to speak in front of the camera and the mic again in a really long time, because I just didn't think that was something that I could do. But here I am. I put in an opinion poll on my Instagram recently, piggybacking off last week's episode on what perfectionism is holding you back from. Now, this episode is titled Why Perfectionism is Holding You Back. And I'll get into some of my followers' responses, some people who responded shortly. But I'd also love to offer my own disinhibiting beliefs that have shaped my pursuit of perfection to my own detriment. Since moving to Sydney, I have forced myself to go out on solo dates, which is something I haven't done in a really long time and something I've never really engrossed myself in. And I went to this meetup group where we went gallery hopping, and we got to go to three very unique galleries that I'd obviously never been to before because it was a meetup group. It was my first time in Sydney. One known as Pierre Marc, the N. Smith Gallery, and Gaffer. And it was really beautiful to see some of these artworks and just see some of these extremely creative people, to meet some very interesting people from all over Australia, all over the world. And through it, I was introduced to this other gallery that was also happening in Sydney as well, known as the Other Art Fair. And I went there and I had a really lovely time, did some networking, got to share some stories about the creative journey, the creative process, and what art really means to us and where it touches us and where it leaves us after we've engaged with something meaningful and critical. I would say the only critique I have about going there is I would have loved to see more people that looked like myself showcasing their art. And I will say it was the fourth day that I went, which was the last day. So I don't know which artists were there on the first, second, or third. This was just what was on the fourth. And this doesn't discount any of the artists that were there. It's just my question with these things is I wonder how they're reaching out to communities with people who look like me, in order to get them to showcase their work as well. And I think that's a barrier that is often presented when it comes to the creative industry. There are different avenues, and it can be quite closed in and elite. that smaller communities, marginalized communities often can't penetrate. So when I went to this art fair, I was having a conversation with one of the guys I met about how I have not pursued a lot of creative endeavors because I feared that they weren't good enough. I didn't like the end result and it wasn't perfect. I've stopped myself from singing, from poetry, from visual art, specifically painting, whether it's with acrylics, watercolors, oil. But I recently got into watercolors, which is something I really like because I feel like it's quite elegant and it's quite soft and beautiful. But I've not picked up a brush in a really long time because I'm so afraid that I'm not going to like what it looks like. I'm so afraid that the end result won't be what I want it to be. So I stop and I say it's not perfect, so I don't want to do it. So as I'm speaking, as I'm talking, I go over to this other lady's art, beautiful drawings on like this coal like paper. And I'll put a link in the description below for her work. She approaches me and she says, I overheard you speaking that you don't do art because you're worried it's not going to be perfect. And she says to me, you are denying the world of your creativity because you're worried about achieving something that's not possible. She goes on and continues and says, next time you paint and next time you do any form of art, you close your eyes, you show it to a friend, you show it to somebody, and you don't have to like it. You don't have to like a single piece of art that you do. Just finish it. At this point, I awkwardly smile, embarrassed by my own desire to achieve something that is impossible and to say that so publicly and be corrected, but also so grateful that she would correct me and that she did correct me. And since that experience, I've decided to incorporate it into the work I'm doing now, which is podcasting, which is making YouTube videos, which is writing. And I've been encouraged to not focus on doing things perfectly because when you focus on doing things perfectly, you hold yourself to a standard that is unachievable. You deny the world access to your beauty and your art because you are aspiring to a standard that nobody can ever achieve. There is no such thing as perfect, only better. And I will say it is interactions like these that actually compel me to leave the house. Because I know if I had stayed home, I would have kept thinking about the same thing over and over again. I really wish I could paint. I really wish I could speak on the mic. I really wish I could make a YouTube video. Constantly wishing that you could do something and constantly wishing that you were capable of doing that thing instead of just doing it, to the point where it's almost pathetic, to the point where it's almost laughable. And what I've found with this deathly, deadly spiral is it leaves you in a state of anxiety, a state of fear, and a state of unfinishedness. You feel stuck and you feel as though you will never amount to anything. You'll never do anything because you never allow yourself to just do. And frankly, I found that at my big age, I'm tired of feeling stuck. I'm tired of being anxious about not pursuing creative endeavors. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not creative enough. When what's stopping me isn't that my work isn't good. What's stopping me is that I'm just not doing it and everybody else is. Your inability to not complete something isn't about whether or not you're capable of doing it because we complete daily tasks every day. We make the time to finish that Netflix series. We make the time to read that book, to go out and see a friend. Some of us are not even capable of doing that anymore. So the excuses when it comes to our creative endeavors are blocks that we put on ourselves because often we feel as though we're not worthy and we feel as though it's not going to be good enough for people to receive. But who are these people that need to receive your work at a level of perfection that is unobtainable? I want to bring it back to some of the responses I had on my Instagram story, and there were two that really stuck out to me. A lot of people said perfectionism has held them back from peace and love. I want to start with the first one, which is peace. I spoke about when we don't finish things or when we don't allow ourselves the chance to finish something, it stops us from knowing peace. It stops us from feeling a sense of relief from starting something from start to finish and seeing the results of our efforts and our labor. We are deserving of peace. We are deserving of kindness towards ourselves. Perfectionism is internalized oppression, as Gloria Steinem said. Perfectionism is invisible chains that hold us back from self actualizing and being kind and patient and loving ourselves. It sets an unrealistic standard that no one can ever and will ever achieve. It's not a peaceful state of mind, it's anxiety ridden and it's angry and it's frustrating. The goal of creativity, the goal of art, and the goal of expression isn't about being perfect. The goal of discovering parts of ourselves and building parts of ourselves isn't about being perfect. It's about humbling ourselves, exploring parts of ourselves and parts of other people, and that allows for peace. Aspiring to be perfect isn't loving and it's not kind. My desire for perfectionism left me crying in many workplaces, throwing away hundreds of dollars on multiple hobbies because I didn't think I deserved to do them because I wasn't good enough. And I hope when I share these stories about myself that others can resonate and learn that you don't have to be perfect to be deserving of doing something or anything. Unfortunately, this story is tired, it's overwritten, and it's boring. At this point, we know better, so we can do better. What you put out doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. Take this as an open invitation to fail loudly and publicly, to open the world to your heart and no longer deny them the uniqueness of yourself. Too much of this world is grey enough as it is. Feed us with chaos, color, and energy so unapologetically. Thank you for listening. I look forward to speaking with you and to you guys next week. You can find my work on Substack, YouTube, or follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or just don't. Even if you watch this video, you get what you need and you never watch another one again. Who cares? Any peace.